I'm Matt.
And I'm Monica.
And this is the Matt and Monica podcast.
There, did it, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did what I could there.
Yeah.
But I get to save them.
Yeah. I mean, you saved him, man. It just didn't make it. You know, you did what you could. Like, that's the way I see it. And
the guys throughout the day, you know, like I was saying, they're asking me about him. I'm like, he ain't never going to walk the way he did again, but he's going to make it. And in my heart, I knew he was going to make it. You know, everybody was always talking about November 3rd. We get back next morning. I don't remember what time it was. It was real early the next morning when we pulled into the fob. And I'm in my shoe taking off, bloody wet boots and everything. And like, you can't get the smell of burnt flesh off you. It doesn't happen.
yeah,
All the wet wipes in the world aren't going to do it.
yeah.
I get a knock on my door, and it's one of my battle buddies. He's like, "Hey, did you hear?" I'm like, "What? Corn didn't make it." I was like, "Fuck,
Dude.
it was."
Welcome to episode 2. I got an awesome guest here. I've been excited for this all night long. I was tossing and turning most of the night last night. This
exciting.
This is my buddy. This is Sergeant Matt Kinney.
What's everybody doing?
He's a good man. And yeah, here we are finally. This is a Veterans Day special. We have a lot to talk about. This is going to get deep. I don't know if I should say viewer discretion's advised or whatever, but this is going to get deep.
And or grab your tissues.
Yeah.
Really?
The one thing I forgot.
Yeah. But so I guess I'll start by saying I met Matt. He was in the Army a lot longer than me. I met him, I believe the first memorable moment was in Fort Chaffee. Him and I were down there for our annual training, and it was Code Black, which for those of you who don't know what that means, it was hot as shit for like 5 days. And when I say hot as shit, like they only allow training for a certain amount of time where you are supposed to have a certain amount of downtime for X amount of minutes. And it's pretty crazy. But anyway, yeah, that was when I first met him. And we were in the same unit out of Oswego together, out of the 444 engineer unit. It's kind of why I'm wearing the shirt. And yeah, I don't know where we want to begin, but that's where I'm at. What do you think?
Well, we can jump into whatever you want, but we can kind of tag along with your first episode and talk about why we're still friends all the time. Talk so much.
Why we thought of
why I'm here.
Yeah.
So it just so happens to he's a combat medic, by the way. That's really relevant to this. But anyway, my wife and I, we got married a little over 2 years ago now, and this guy right here is ordained. He married my wife and I. Maybe I'll throw a picture or something in the podcast of us, him standing up there with me. So I reached out to him. He's an incredible guy at just speaking. He's just real as fuck. And that's another thing. I'm going to be dropping probably more swear words than I normally will because this is a military episode.
And it's how you guys talk to each other.
Yeah. I should say former military.
It's a quick way to communicate for sure.
Yeah. So, he married us and we had a great wedding. And we have a great relationship like we've already talked about in our first episode. But
Absolutely.
yeah, I guess I was going to start off this episode more or less talking to you about why did you join the military and why did you want to become a medic?
You ask me all these hard questions.
Oh,
I'll tell you, I joined the military because when I was 18, I had signed up to go active duty infantry. And I talked to some Fort Drum guys and they're like, "Don't go infantry, you'll be sucking." And I'm like, all right, enough said. I mean, these are infantry guys, and like I didn't hang around with Army dudes all that much because I was still in high school. And so I said, I'm not going, and I didn't go, right? So
I did the same thing.
Yeah, I did.
I pussied out before MEPS. My buddy, we signed up to go infantry together, and I pussied out at the last second. I just had a gut feeling. I was like 20 years old, and I ended up going back in, when I was 27 after my divorce. But that's funny. I didn't know that about you. So,
well, it's one of those weird things, like this coming from Army dudes. So I'll take their word for it. And obviously, I could have done something else in the military, but they wanted to stick me with infantry and didn't give me a whole lot of options. I'm like, nah, I'll pass on that. Thanks, I'm good.
Yeah.
But then I'm walking through the mall, and this recruiter's like, look, a strong young man. It was like, you ever thought about joining the military? I'm like, once a few years ago, and he was like, well, why didn't you go? And I'm like, because I talked to the military and they said, don't go. So he was like, well, would you consider it now? And I'm like, maybe reserves. He's like, well, why wouldn't you want to go active? I'm like, why would I want to sign a 4-year contract with something I might hate where I could do it on the weekends and only have to worry about 4 years of doing it on the weekends?
Yeah.
He was like, well, you want me to put you in touch with a reserve recruiter? I'm like, and somehow I gave him my number or whatever. And like later that day, reserve recruiter calls me and I'm having problems with my girlfriend at the time. I'm like, I tell you what, if you can get me out by March 21st, I'll do it. Not even a month later, I'm on a plane to Fort Benning, Georgia. It was
quick.
Yeah. And like you'll come to find with your questions, I don't have a lot of reasons to do what I do. It's one of those things. It's a clear path,
Yeah, no, that was me.
It's a path. It doesn't even have to be clear because I'm just going to go down it anyway.
Yeah, that was me. I drove by the recruiter's office one day. I put zero thought in it, which I've been pretty much like that my whole life. I'm very sporadic, but I put no thought into it. I actually tried to go active duty when I was 27 because I just wanted to get the fuck out of Dodge because of my recent divorce, and I was just not in a good place. Just wanted to escape for a little while, and didn't want to escape the kids and stuff. But it was a very new thing for me. But the recruiter lied to me and told me that I couldn't go active duty because of my dependents. In other words, he didn't want to do the paperwork, from my understanding. But I went in and I talked to a reserve recruiter that's like, there's no infantry. He didn't tell me that I could have went National Guard. Because I wanted to go infantry, because that's what I wanted to do when I was 20 with my buddy that did go infantry. He did a tour in 2007 in Iraq, but one of my best friends, which he's doing great nowadays. Anyway, I had no regrets, and I had no regrets on my spontaneousness joining the reserves because I had memories that I would never, ever, ever, ever be able to replace. Like meeting you, and like it's corny as that is, but
it's an easy way to build a life. And I tried, like, I know the military is not for everybody, but I think so many people, if they could get out of the state, out of where they're at and their state of mind, just get out of it and see something new, go to a different town, have a bad time, but have some experience,
dude.
Rather than sit in the same town and some people thrive. Some people just swelter in their own slop, It's like, get out and do something, man.
Yeah. It's like what you always say. It's like,
get out of Cam Barrel.
Well, get out, but even if it things suck, it's sucking with your friends. So you're
with
them.
You develop the strongest bonds going through the hardest situations. Period.
And it's like any other situation. You can always come home. It doesn't have to be forever. But I always try to tell people, join the military. Be in retention the last 3 years of my career. It's like I always have. Like I was at E6 since 2006 for crying out loud. Literally. Shit. So here's the thing: being reserves, find an E7 slot for a medic that's anywhere within 200 miles of my home.
Yeah,
I didn't want to travel. It's the reserves meant a lot to me when I was in. But on the same note, it's like it didn't mean that much to be away from my family.
Yeah.
It just plain and simple didn't. Deployments are enough. So when I was in Iraq, came up for promotion board, and I literally had to sign papers twice to not be part of it because I'm like, you know what? I'm battalion NCOIC or NCO, and NCOIC of pretty much everything we do. I've got over a dozen medics underneath of me. Where else am I going to go where a 7's going to make a difference?
Yeah.
And as a 6, I'm teaching all kinds of classes. Like you could throw a book in front of me and be like, "Hey, Kenny, you're teaching this class today." Cool.
You taught a lot of my classes.
Really?
Yeah. It's CLS and whatnot.
Yeah. CLS. It's combat life saving if people don't know.
Oh yeah.
I was going to ask.
Throw that out there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Usually I can't even remember half the letters, but that one, it's just been spoken so many times.
Is all I remember is what is the thing that goes up your nose?
I was going to ask about
NCD?
that.
No, it's nasopharyngeal airway.
Did you both do it?
Okay. Yeah, that's the thing. You snaps up I got a video of it somewhere.
It goes in and down.
Yeah, right? You snaps through your sinuses. And it's supposed to, in case you have a TBI and you're unconscious, supposed to prevent you from choking.
There's a lot of different things to it. It's an established airway.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
But don't pull me into the medical stuff. I haven't talked about that stuff in forever,
So why do you want to be a medic?
Oh, so actually I didn't even have a thought about being a medic, but it was a prerequisite to being a mental health specialist, is what I went in for because of the bonus. And I'm like, shit.
I never knew that either.
Yeah. Well, I
Mhm.
don't tell people about all my failures.
Yeah.
But it was one of those things, you fail a test and a retest and you're out.
Yeah.
It's not that I didn't know the materials. I have ADHD. I'm not good at and at the time I
Yeah.
didn't know that. I didn't get diagnosed with ADHD until I was in Afghanistan. And at
Yep.
36 years old, my entire life changed when I found out ADHD. And like, don't take this personal, because you're either advanced or you are retarded. That's it. Bottom line, I consider myself retarded because of the ADHD. But I grew up thinking, literally, no, honest to no bullshit, that I was retarded because I couldn't do math. I couldn't read a clock as fast as everybody
People
else.
learn different, man.
Yep.
I
They
definitely learn
definitely
different than a
do.
lot of people.
And if they
Yeah.
don't learn,
They do.
they hide it.
Yeah.
Or, you know, that fake it till you make it. Now they're trying to reverse that and cancel fake it till you make it. No, keep faking it till you make it, because sometimes it's all you can do is just put on that smile
Yeah.
and wave.
Yeah.
Smile and wave, boys. Smile and wave. You know, sometimes it's all you got.
Yeah.
And, you know, if you're not making it and you think there's something wrong with you, the only way you can do it is to smile and go along and try not to get picked up on. And then, you know, somebody call you out, dime you out on, you know, what you got going on. It's like, I do that all the time. It's like raising children, be like, yeah, I talked to your dad and he said, you know, you can't have a candy bar till you eat dinner, when you really didn't or something, you know. But it's one of those simple little things that get you through life, and it doesn't alter anybody else's, you know. But so anyways, you fail a test and a retest and you're out of the course. I knew the material in study groups. I was killing it. But you get that test in front of me and you've got 3 answers that are somewhat close and one that's just out in left field. Well, I failed the test and the retest, and I got to go through the whole course again. Got recycled and failed the test and the retest. But the medic course, like, I never studied once for that. That was all in class. Everything else was going out, getting, you know, I'd never even had, like, been to a Chinese restaurant until I was at in San Antonio, you know?
Dude, and I'll say, like, I noticed immediately when you mentioned those classes in general, though, I just remember you cared. You know what I mean? When you taught it, like, there's people that taught classes and they could be good at a teaching class, but even if somebody sucked, you didn't suck. But if people did suck, but if you could tell that they cared and they had, and like, you were real because you took it very fucking serious. And you're not the most serious guy. You're a jokester, you're a ball buster, but when it came to like CLS, you're a serious fucking person. And a real person, which is why I wanted you on this podcast, because everybody I have on here, I would like to be just real and authentic as humanly possible. None of us are perfect, but being as real as you can be is freaking huge. So
it's easy.
Yeah.
That's the part
it's
about it.
It's easy when you're confident enough to be real. And it's taken me, you know, it's taken me 36 years to realize, like, it's the most powerful thing I've ever found about myself, is just being real as shit to people. People love it. People respond to it differently. And
Take it or leave it.
You respond to it.
That's
the thing. It makes you grow every time you, like, I tell people all the time, I'm like, I don't lie. The only time I do lie is when I don't know the truth. And it's like politics. My views are subject to change. You know, if I said that, you know, a week ago, something else might have just happened. And like, whoa, I was wrong about that, or what? Or you find out more details about things. You know,
you recognize it. And change your views or thoughts or whatever. And,
And I try to stay pretty static, like just a plain level field, not like up here on the gossip wagon, not down here where you're like just avoiding everything. You know, I just try to like soak it all in, and I don't know, I talk too much, but
my issue is getting stuck on tangents, man. That's why I want to come here with bullet points tonight, but I think I'm all right. I got you to keep me in line. That might be dangerous.
Well, Monica, Matt, it's like I told you, like, earlier tonight, and you know, when we're on the phone, because when I have everybody that I do weddings for, I call, we have a either get together or call, and I'll sit here with my clipboard and pen and take all my clip notes, so I know, you know, about the love story that these two went through, or more of it that they hadn't told me before, to write into the wedding, and then be like, hey, what do you think of this? Because I write everything custom. And it's like it's one of those things, like, I just take notes on everything, because then you're not making things up, and it's there. But
you mentioned something. You mentioned us and our love story. I think we were in Watertown. We were up in Fort Drum for some sort of training. Oh man, there's so many fun, stupid,
good memories.
Yeah, one of my buddies, I won't name his name. I gotta talk about that. Anyway, I remember being at a bar and I remember talking to Matt here, and I remember we were talking. I think he saw that we were in a relationship on social media, and he just told me how absolutely healthy and happy we looked, and like, and that's how I felt ever since I met
Oh
her.
yeah. Oh my gosh.
We just been too good to be true, and I'm like, man, what a perfect person to marry us, because
For
he's the
real.
one that he pointed that out. Arrow, you want to get down? Anyway,
No, I want to be famous.
Yeah.
She is now. Look at her.
But yeah. So when I was in Watertown, I remember it was one of our buddies. It was his last day in the reserves. And I don't know if I should or shouldn't name names when it comes to other people in the army.
I
But
wouldn't name
yeah.
names.
Anyway, we were out in Fort Drum or in Watertown. We were at Fort Drum for training. Went out at the bar, had a great night. I was DD, and I was sober, but still I had 5 drunk army guys in my vehicle. And one of them, he knows exactly who it is because he's definitely listened to this podcast. I had a trooper behind me, and like I had too many people in my car, and like he starts hitting my 4-way hazard button on my vehicle as I'm trying not to get pulled over, and like,
oh my god!
and I probably just had 2 or 3 beers, but I would have been all right, but nothing I would have wanted to get pulled over, having alcohol in my breath, and the troopers up next to Fort Drum, that's all they deal with. So they don't give military leniency at all. Not that they should give leniency to military, but anyway, so a lot of things we wanted to come in and talk about tonight. One of the biggest things, more so focusing on him because I've never deployed. A lot of my army buddies, almost all of them, I feel like have deployed, and they bust my balls because I've been to NTC, JRTC, and NTC twice, but that's the extent of my experience.
Like 21 years. Guess how many times I've been to JRTC and NTC?
Yeah.
Never.
Wait, what?
Never.
How did you dodge that? What the?
Always have training or just a lot of things going on.
Are you doing other stuff military-wise instead of going to
No,
that?
so JRTC and NTC. JRTC's in Fort Polk, Louisiana. NTC's Fort Irwin, California. They're like, they're considered, correct me if I'm wrong, they are considered like pre-deployment training sites. And so you do generally 2.5 weeks in the field. That means generally for most people, being a combat engineer, I don't know about a medic because I think they got a little more cushy than we do, but we had no showers for I think 18 days at a time, and that was the RTC. But it was rough. Although I'm preaching to the choir because somebody had deployed to Iraq and Afghanistan. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I'm not going to bitch anymore. But anyway,
I just had to rub that in.
Listen, until you've been in a 113 with 8 other men and nobody showered for 18 days, you don't know what a bad smell is.
The sad part about that is there's always that 1 or 2 people that come out there that already haven't showered for 10 to 18 days.
Yeah.
Would you shower if you have a chance before you go?
Not everybody. There's people that just, and then when they're out there, at least you can do a miracle with baby wipes. You can keep pretty clean with baby wipes.
So gross.
And then there's people that just when they're out there, you can tell they don't care. And we're gonna change the subject.
Anyway, on to the next subject.
I don't know at what point we should. Where did you deploy first? Was it Iraq or Afghanistan?
Iraq.
What year? Okay.
And how old were you?
You're old as fuck.
I was 20.
You're 50. How old are you again?
50.
He's like, you motherfucker.
No, I'm 46.
Okay. Oh yeah, you're actually older than I remembered you being. Okay. He's like, I still hate you.
Just stop.
Oh man. So, how was that deployment? Because I don't ever recall you talking about that at all.
Iraq wasn't bad. I had
in 06?
06, 07. Yeah.
It wasn't bad, really.
I
mean, for where probably depending on where you are.
I'm a pretty eseagoing guy.
Yeah,
I know. We're engineered. The whole battalion was there, so I stayed pretty busy. I kept. It's kind of neat. I should have brought it. Didn't even think about it, but I kept like a mission log of where every medic was and where they went and when, what
cool.
day they got back and stuff. Mm-hmm. And I'm in that log quite a lot. So you get to go see a lot of places and take pictures.
Yeah.
But I should have wrote the names of more of the places down because I can't remember any of these fobs and things that we went to. It's neat when I'm with like more of my army buddies because they're like, remember when we were here? And I'm like, that's what the name of that place was. Mm-hmm. Hell yeah. I was like, remember over here there was this, because it just I don't know. I'm going to find happiness and peace where
Yeah.
whatever I'm doing. You know, there's
Yeah.
always going to be something that sucks, and there's always going to be things that just change it all around, and things that keep you going. You know,
Other than the negative parts of Afghanistan that we'll get to in a bit, like what were the living conditions? What was the deployment setting like in Iraq versus Afghanistan? What years were you in Afghanistan?
11 and 12.
11 and 12.
So in Iraq, we lived in what we called chews, and they're basically like a hog pen, like a job trailer. Yeah. And you had like 4 guys in each one, and it had like a little Chigo or whatever, you know, the heater AC thing. And it wasn't bad. It wasn't too awful far to walk to the trains and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then in Afghanistan, we basically lived in wooden garages, and it was like literally kind of like pig pens, because there's just, you're like living in stalls. You know, you got enough room for your bed. You could put 2 beds in it, I guess, but you're gonna be. It was cramped, you know, but it wasn't horrible. Iraq was somewhat close to the climates here. Afghanistan was right on point, but in Afghanistan, like on the days of the month when there's no moon, it was black.
Oh, weird.
Like,
yeah.
like because there's no light pollution.
Oh,
We're
yeah.
Way out in the
makes
mountains,
sense.
in the middle of nowhere.
Interesting. So the stars were like probably.
Yeah, well, there's nights where you've got like the stars will light up the sky. You don't even need a flashlight to walk to the gym or chow hall or whatever.
Yeah.
But that was like, you know, one of the beautiful things that just stays in my mind is like walking around Five Gardez, and like you either have to have a flashlight because you cannot see anything, or you don't have to have a flashlight because the stars are beautiful that night. You know.
Yeah.
But I don't know. As far as different, I mean, it's the army. The army's the army. You know, you got to embrace the suck, and that's is what it is.
Yeah.
And you like ate MREs the whole time there? Or
No.
Oh, I don't know.
You would die. Like, I'm sorry. I just after like 2 weeks of MRAs straight,
your stomach would be like shot.
You don't know what they do to your stomach. You only know what they do to your stomach after you go in after somebody else that ate more MRAs than you did.
So what did you eat?
Like, what did you? They had regular chow hall stuff and whatnot.
Okay.
Yeah, it's most of the time. Sometimes it just depends on the weather. You know,
Yeah.
literally if the food's coming in, or if you are eating some other kind of rations or MREs or whatever, or if you wanted to trudge through the snow, get dressed after, you know, you're just like chow time. You're like, it's snowing to beat hell. I'm not walking out there, you know? Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. You know, it's not like it was just like walk to the kitchen and open the fridge door.
Yeah.
Right. So what about communication with people back at home?
Oh yeah, that's a good question.
So oddly enough, I'm not a big computer guy, but in Iraq there was what came out before Facebook? MySpace. So my brother Bill
we're old, just so you know.
Yeah,
we mentioned
we were on
MySpace.
that
There's
too.
so many people who are gonna watch this, be like, "My what?"
Yeah, what is that? Yeah.
MySpace was the old Facebook. Just that's all you need to know, with music on it. It was pretty awesome.
It was pretty cool.
Yeah, but anyway.
I kind of wish it was still around.
Me too.
It is, but it's not like it was when we were on it. It's totally different.
Yeah. It is.
Anyway, yeah.
So my older brother's like, "Hey, you should get MySpace." He's like, "I talk about you on there, blah blah blah." And so I got MySpace, and I'm reading that. I'm like, "Wow, that's awesome!" You know, I was intrigued because there's my older brother, like, you know, treat me like a hero because I'm overseas.
Yeah.
I'm like, "That's awesome." That was in Iraq, and then Facebook came out, so I was on that. I think I got Facebook when I got back. I don't even know. I'm too old for this shit.
Yep.
But and then Afghanistan was Facebook, you know, in emails and whatnot. It was a whole lot easier then. But being a medic, I've always got a computer because we have to log everything, you know, and track everything. Holy shit! But
so what about like video call and stuff to people? Like, can you
was that around?
Yeah, was it?
I don't think it was around at all in Iraq. If it was, I wasn't up on it. I wasn't into it, you know.
Yep.
And then Afghanistan, I don't remember if we did video calls. If I did video calls to home or not, I really don't. I mean, but that again, I am literally a weepy bitch. Like the emotions, I can't control that shit, you know. And if I'm on a video call, I'm thinking about my dog or something, you know, back home, like, or my children, you know. And they're like, it's heartfelt to see them, but kills you to know that you can't hug
them. Yes.
Yeah.
It's-
Yep.
I have nothing that compares to what you went through, but I do remember that one phone call I got to make when I was in basic training. Granted, I was trying to get a hold of my ex-girlfriend at the time. She didn't answer, but then my ex-wife answered, and I was trying to get a hold of my kids, and like I couldn't even talk. Just, after like, was it a month or so, until I get a phone call and whatever. But yeah, that's a difficult thing.
It's the hardest part to get through with the military is the time away from family.
Yeah.
100%.
And again, that's why I never pursued, getting my 7 until I switched careers
Yeah.
in the military. And I was like,
Is that why you went in retention?
that, and, I was ready to wind down. I had 17 years as a medic, and there's shit that just hurts. Like, I'm not a disabled vet. I haven't gone to the VA and be like, whoa, this hurts, that hurts, and all that stuff. But
and that's a different topic for a different day. But yeah,
we'll have to get some VA specialists for that.
Yeah,
for sure. But it's one of those things. It's like, I was ready to slow down, and not that I wanted to be a paper pusher, but I don't do good in the cold. You know, I mean, plain and simple, it's not my comfort zone. It's not my element.
Yeah.
I don't mind it. I can push through things. I'll go on, do what's got to be done.
Yep.
But end of the day, when I get, back or whatever, am I happy? No.
Yeah.
I love being out with the guys and stuff, ranges and everything. That was awesome. But as far as just camping out in, the shoot villages and stuff on Fort Drum, it's like, that got to be not for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just to hear how retention lived, staying in hotels during some of their training and stuff, I'm like, why wouldn't I? And another thing was like, one of the retention, she told me, she was telling me all this good stuff about me. I'm like, where are you getting all this? And she's like, well, I could just see by the way people talk to you here and the way you act and the way you talk to me. And I had taken my little boy in there with me, and she was just telling me all this I love me shit. And I'm like, makes sense. Why wouldn't I go do this? Because I like to tell people what makes them, what I see that makes them tick so well. That's
my dog with her bone. Arrow, come here. Arrow, come.
She just wants to play.
She comes with some kind of big surprise.
No, come up here. Come up here.
Now.
Get up, girl. You lay down. You stay. So, I as you're talking, I got thinking, and it's one of the things I learned this year. They always say, oh, you shouldn't care what other people think. I realized this year there's nothing more important than the way people talk about you behind your back, because that is pure and unbiased as hell. And not saying you should care what everyone thinks, but
you can learn from it.
You really can. Yeah. And I was gonna say, like, you're one of those people. Like, I never really heard anybody bash you. Throughout the years. I'm sure
there's plenty out there that don't like me, but
oh yeah.
The difference is like, I get it. I say some off the wall stuff, and some of the stuff, like, people are like, I can't believe you just said that. But realistically, in all realness, it makes sense. And sometimes you got to break the mold, the cycle that people are in. Like when I'm trying, and that's another thing. Like, not to ramble, but it's pertinent. So as a medic, if your guys don't trust you, they're not going to come to you with so much as athlete's foot, let alone the fact that they're contemplating suicide.
Yes. Yeah. That's huge.
Or, they've got a handful of pills that they're going to take.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Like,
people don't realize how often that shit happens. They hear about it. Oh, soldier suicide. And they have no idea how often that happens.
They don't take it like seriously. Like,
no, and until it affects you personally, it's really hard for people to be able to relate to something, which maybe this podcast could really shed some light on. Like, and I know the military is big on shedding light on, mental health in general, but the average guy is, especially me being a 36-year-old male, which I had another YouTube that I posted about me going into a mental health clinic. Like, that's not normal. That's not normal being a 36-year-old male reaching out asking for help.
It's
not.
It's not ordinary. It's normal, but it's not ordinary.
Yeah. Absolutely. It should be. It should be okay, and it should be okay to talk about.
Absolutely.
Shit. And therapy. Therapy is one of those things. Like, it helped me. It helped put things in perspective. Did the individual, like, she's great at her job. I have a therapist now, especially after this year. God, I needed one after this year. But Yeah, therapy is one of those things I've always, I never talk shit about it. I just, am like, I'm a pretty open person. So I'm like, what could it do for me? Like, if I'm willing, like, I talk to my wife about every single deep, darkest thought in my brain. I really do. And, not many people have that. And, I'm pretty proud to have that. On the flip side of it, like when I have sat down with my therapist, she has been able to ask me questions that made me think of things differently, and things like, especially this year, things that are in your control and things out of your control. And unfortunately, it took me my own experience of going through incredible hardship to realize when things are out of your control, if you cannot dwell on those things out of your control and not let them consume you, you can literally turn around your entire fucking life. And when I say that, I mean literally everything, because you can focus on all the things you do have control over. For example, drinking, your health, exercising. Like, people are so quick to sit around and just do nothing.
And feel sorry for themselves
Yeah.
without trying to get
and
better.
not talk to anybody. And let me tell you what, if it weren't for me talking to people this year, like this guy right here, I called him, I want to say sometime July, give or take. And I was at a point in my life, I'm going to be honest. This is not something I've shared with anybody. I don't think, maybe her, but I was at work one day and I had a moment where I was scrolling through my text message or my contacts in my cell phone, just looking for somebody to talk to that wasn't quite involved in my life, that would be outside perspective, that wouldn't be able to connect any of the dots to anybody I'm talking about. Yep. And I opened up to him and I called this fucking guy here. And let me tell you what, that conversation, I think, changed me. He was listening, and the cool thing was, and I mean this in a good way, like you sounded sympathetic, but you're like, you were very strong about it, and like
real, and he didn't
I don't sugarcoat.
No,
right.
No,
you weren't like, oh, it's okay, honey, you'll be all right.
You're not going to tell me what I need to hear just because I need to hear it.
Right.
Yeah. Like, I know bits and bobs from that conversation. I was like, fucking do it, man.
Right.
Like, fucking stop talking about that.
Yeah.
If you're going to war, go to war. You go to war to win. You don't go to war to survive.
Right.
You go to win.
Yeah.
And like it didn't. I won't say it didn't take much because it's just complex. It was really deep. And I'm like, fuck, I didn't know that. Like,
Yeah.
Like, I won't say I was blindsided, but just would have never guessed you had going on what you had going on.
Yeah.
But,
on the outside looking in, it looks great. It looks fucking great.
Yeah, the hiking pictures, the family pictures, the love of your life pictures, the boat.
Yeah.
You got to mention the boat.
Yeah. Dude,
stupidest
best purchase I've ever made in my entire life.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
many people talk shit to
You're
me.
welcome.
They're like, yeah. That was going to be a whole episode.
That
but,
is a boat episode.
Yeah. No, seriously. Like I was.
Yeah.
That was best purchase for the hardest year of my life. Best
it
year
was
of my
meant
life.
to be.
Most
It was meant to
rewarding
be.
year. Hardest year, most rewarding year, because this hard year has formed me and carved me into the person that I am now. And I'm not saying I'm like better than anybody else by any means, but I am real as fuck now. And I am going to tell you how I feel with respect. I'm not going to be, I'm not arrogant. I'm
but you're more positive and more faithful and like just.
I appreciate everything because I realize how quick life can change and fucking shit on you. And when it's undeserved. And
here's another aspect of it. You reached out for help.
Yeah.
You reached out, maybe not even for help, maybe just for a little assurance, just to talk to somebody, to decompress, vent a little bit, and look what it did for you.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't any one thing that anybody said. It was a culmination of how all these people talked to you and what you could build with that.
We were talking about that the other day. Because he's like, what made me click or whatever? I'm like, babe, it's probably a million different things. It wasn't one thing that made it happen. It was just
trying.
Many things together. It's always many things.
I keep trying to find, like, I'm like, oh, I wonder if it was this. I wonder if it was that. And it's just like, I have a incredible support structure. Like, if it weren't for my friends and family and kids and my wife, like... People are just like rolling their eyes. Would you shut up about your fucking wife? But the words cannot explain. Like, I consider myself a pretty decent person. I tell people this all the time. She's better than me in every single way. I don't care. No, I'm not trying to make you feel good. I'm being honest right now. I'm being honest as could be. But anyway, get by that stuff. But needless to say, I called him. I reached out to him. I talked to him on the phone for, I was at work and
way longer than you planned for sure.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So
full disclosure.
A long time.
Yeah, full disclosure, I was on the clock, and I love the company I work for. They're very good to me.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a hard point, and I'm not saying like I was better that day after talking to him, but I was a lot better than I was before I made that fucking phone call.
You felt probably later, a little bit later.
So,
yeah,
but
well, that's what I try and do.
Yeah.
When I'm talking to people, same as you try to pull them out of their mindset.
Yes.
Not yank them out and push them out, but let them see a little bit of light in that dark tunnel.
Yeah.
And you just bring them in, and you get them going off their rails.
Yes.
And holy shit, when they hit that switch in the railroad track and they go off in the other direction, fuck, let's do a podcast.
Yeah.
I mean, literally.
Do you know how many people?
So
do you know how many
funny.
people right now are probably judging me and thinking like, what the like? Where did this come from? Like, where did this come from? Like, and I have proof. I literally bought a mic and a camera. Like, I think November 1st and 2nd is when they came in. And I'm like, I got an idea. Like, I'm going to start a podcast, and here we are. And I had some incredible ideas, and I have guests lined up. Like, is it gonna? I don't know if I'm gonna ever be able to top you, but I have guests lined up. No.
Maybe the next time I'm here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. I'm not that great. I just talk a lot.
Dude, I've had people reaching out to me, telling me like, "Oh my God, your the episode really helped me," and I'm just like, it's so humbling. It's like,
but it's crazy because it's like people
We're
that are
hanging
very
out
close
talking.
to me too. What?
No, I was just saying, we're just hanging out talking.
Yeah, but and it's people that like we're close to that would call us or text us or write comments or whatever, and it's surprising to me. My very close friends and stuff would say stuff to me about, oh, you made me think of this and this and this, even though I talk to them all the time.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, it made me feel so good.
Yeah, but we went pretty deep in which
Yeah.
we're gonna get to in a minute here. But no, I think it's cool. And my whole intentions behind this, I've realized recently I was asked a question, hey, if you could do anything you wanted, what would you want to do in this world? And I'm like, I didn't hesitate, and I thought to myself, I'd like to help people. And what's helped me this year, and which I'm sure has helped you in your life and you, like when you hear somebody with a worse story than yours, it does something to you, because if that freaking person can go to work and smile and walk around and act like they're fine, and you know what they're going through or what they've been through, it's like you have no excuse to sulk around and feel bad for yourself anymore. And that is so huge, because there are so many people out there that are, okay, give me a pill to be happy. Give me a pill to do this. Give me a pill to do that. And it's like, you need to put effort into it. You need to put effort into opening up, and you need to put effort into talking to people. And like, because a lot of people judge me based off of how open I am and because I can't shut up. Like when I'm going through shit, and I have to talk. And if I didn't, maybe I'd be one of those people sulking in my room, depressed, and I don't know.
It would be different, that's for
But
sure.
instead, you talk to people.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, I'm going to do a podcast.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, and I'm not even poking fun. I'm being real as fuck right now, as Matt would say. You started your podcast, but would you have done that if any of your friends didn't believe in you and they were like, no, that's fucking goofy, dude.
No.
Everybody believes in you. Why?
You down.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like.
But they know you.
Yeah.
And they know that you can do it.
They know there's more to come, and it's just going to get better and better.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, it's going to. And there's,
it's going to.
I'm not a confident person generally, but I've never been so confident in my life that this is going to be decent.
Yeah.
And if this doesn't reach anybody. But I don't know. We're at what? We're at 37 minutes. Holy shit. So
told you.
We have to at this point, I think, go back to Afghanistan. So a lot of people know, they're like, they're not going to go there. Oh, they're going there. And I don't want to quote anything, because I joined the 444 out of Oswego. I joined them in, holy shit, was it 2015 or 2016? 2016, I believe. It doesn't matter. And it was, quite a few years after some shit went down in Afghanistan when that unit deployed, and this guy deployed with them. And I guess what do we do? Do we start off at November 3rd, or do we start off at November 2nd? Do you remember November 2nd? Is a better question, because I don't remember the story.
There wasn't much going on November 2nd.
Okay. Well,
we started the mission the 3rd.
I don't remember any of this. He told me this 2016 when I was at Fort Chaffee, just so you guys remember. I just have a shit memory. I remember it being mind-blowing. Just, yeah. You go ahead, man.
See, that's the weird part, is like, for me, I know there's going to be a lot of viewers from the 444th and some that were there that day. So if I fuck it up, sorry guys, it's how I remember it. It's how I feel.
Yeah,
It's all I got to
Everyone
say.
has their
Dude.
story,
Yeah.
so.
But I mean, my time frames and shit are probably going to be off, whatever. But,
Okay.
So we're out on a mission. We're going around a switchback. And
what's switchback? I'm asking that because
I will try to say things like I don't know any of your military talk, and I know some viewers absolutely do not either. So I'll try to ask those questions so we can be.
So the route we were clearing that day went around switchbacks on a mountain. So to get up or by or whatever a mountain
path?
you got it's a road
Zigzag?
that skirts around the mountain where you can't drive, it's switchbacks because you're switching back and forth.
Okay. Yep.
So we're driving around, everything's pretty normal, and then all of a sudden you just hear a boof, and it was just fucking like we got both headsets on and everything, and everybody in our vehicle was like, oh shit, we knew we got hit.
Yeah,
something blew up.
Was it the first time you guys got hit?
That was actually the first mission that I was out on as a medic, because I was always at the battalion aids.
Wait. This is your first mission out as a medic on that day? Like while you were in Afghanistan?
Well, so we had medics for every route clearance team.
This I don't know.
Yeah. So. Okay. So our route clearance teams all had their own medic assigned.
Okay.
So I stayed back, did my daily thing, worked on it at the TMC and whatnot. And as we got into the cycles of everybody getting to go home for a little vacation when R&R, I filled in. There was that time our medic was home, and there wasn't another medic coming in from another company or whatever, another fob to take his place. So I went out that day, and we got hit. And like I said, everybody was like, "Oh shit!"
Do I remember it was like a 200-pound IED?
It was probably closer to 3.
How.
3. Okay.
It was huge.
So that's okay.
What vehicle did it hit?
It hit
Were they still doing Humvees then, or no?
No. It was
MRAP?
It was MRAP.
Okay.
I believe
What's
it was.
that stuff?
MRAP's like a big Jeep, up armored Jeep. I don't know how to explain it.
It's like any of the more recent war movies you've seen, where you see the big up armored vehicles that look like tractors, like for a tractor trailer or something. They're just huge vehicles. There's not no Humvees out there.
So how many vehicles are like in a line when you are going
in your convoy?
That day,
the ballpark, dude. You're good.
Well, I'm just trying to remember what they were all called, because like I don't know. I'm not good with names, I guess. There was probably 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I want to say there were 7, 8, maybe 13. I'm not positive.
Yeah, that's all good, man.
Yeah,
it's
we're
one of those.
To get an idea.
Yeah, it's and it was the third vehicle back that got hit. And
did they know? Was it a time debt then, or was it a pressure plate?
Yeah,
a pressure plate.
Really?
I think it was. Jesus, you asked these questions.
You're like,
well,
right
I was thinking, like, if it was a pressure thing, wouldn't the first one?
So it was a deep buried IED. So it had been there a while, from what I can remember people talking about. It had been there a while and just unutilized. And we have they're basically front end loader type vehicles.
Big vehicles.
Yeah, okay. I think they're called the Husky or whatever.
Yeah.
They drive over and they've got R panels on. It's like a huge metal detector. And I can't remember if we had 1 or 2 of those that day, but it drove over it and didn't, we've been over
Were those called like HMEs or something? Like those are the ones that are like more like homemade or something like that? It's been a while for me, so I can't remember. Because there's a copper form projectile. I don't know. Sorry, this is the combat engineer aspect of it more so than your medic part. I should have
done a little more homework on that.
It's okay.
No, it doesn't. No, that's not relevant.
We're asking
really.
more detailed questions about that stuff, I guess. But anyway.
So anyways, we hear the boom, and we're all waiting to see, are we getting attacked? Was that just a one-time deal? And we didn't get attacked, not that I know of. And then I'm like, what am I doing? What am I doing? Am I going? Am I going? What am I doing? It's running through my head.
How far away were you from that vehicle? Do you remember?
I think we did have 13 because I think I was like the 7th vehicle back or something. And it was really weird because we're going around these switchbacks, and then there's like a ravine.
Spacing was it like a spread out convoy?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and we were last vehicle or next to last vehicle, and like there's like a ravine that went down, and there's water running through the stream and stuff, and then there's like I think it was like a 4-foot rock wall and stuff, and they're like, "Yeah, go, can you go?" So I hop out the back. Here I am running all the way up there. I get there and I'm like, holy shit! I'm just trying to triage the entire scene because the truck is blown all to shit. There's parts and pieces everywhere.
So you're the only medic for all of those people.
Yeah, I mean we had CLS guys. I can't remember if there was more medics on the convoy or not. To be honest with you, I don't remember. But I know I was there first, and it's like, holy shit! There's all the guys on the ground securing the scene and whatnot. But I get there, and I see Gornowitz. He's like the turret, his gun turret's sitting there in the water. He's laying on the on the bank, and so I run up to him, start doing my thing with him. I'm not gonna get
responsive, if you don't mind,
or minimally.
Okay.
Like, I mean, he was really in rough shape.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
But I did, started doing what I could, and I'm like, shit, I gotta triage the rest of the guys. There's more people in the vehicle.
I know.
Clifton was still alive in the vehicle. Specialist Jane, he where the ID hit right behind his seat, so it killed instantly. Sergeant Venn got thrown out. And when I got up, he was the first person I saw. He was laying on the other, I don't remember if it was the other side of the stream or not, but I got up to run to him and I was told, nope, stay with Gorn. He didn't make it. I'm like, holy shit. And I was like, that shit's real, and with Jane, we had to extricate him, because he was wedged in there. Not to be gruesome, but it is what it is. And we said it was going to be real. And there's the forewarning. I don't know. I got to sidetrack myself a little bit because, like I said earlier, I'm a weepy bitch and I can't control emotions very well.
Okay.
But so we did our thing. We got Clifton out. We got everybody packaged, on the litters and whatnot, waiting for the birds to come in to pick them up. Spent all that time with Gornowitz, and where the birds landed was, probably. It seemed like 2 football fields away. I can't remember exactly because by that point we're all muddy, wet, and in the shit. So hauling the litters up to get them staged so when the choppers landed, they were there. That's a lot of work. That's I don't know. Everybody's like, "Oh, medics are lazy. Medics are lazy," But 90% of the time we're just there. 10% of the time we're doing what nobody else can, and that's, I don't know. I say that to inspire people, not to say that, well, I do what nobody else can. I can't do everything. I simply can't. I couldn't that day.
You can do a lot, man.
Yeah.
And so we passed off, they picked up the guys, passed off Gornowitz. He stayed alive through the flight. And from what I remember, he made it 6 hours into surgery before they said he exsanguinated. So he had blood out on the table. So I feel like, I did what I could.
Yeah.
I kept him alive that far.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's fucking deep, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Then after that.
Was it during the day or during the night when that happened?
That was bright and early in the morning.
Yeah.
And we literally spent all day there doing recovery with the vehicles, picking up the bits and pieces, looking for gear, making sure we had everything so nothing was left for Haji to pick up. That was pretty hard because the guys what's, they're asking me because they didn't get to see it. They're securing the perimeters and shit. Mm-hmm. So they didn't get to, not everybody got to be part of it. So throughout the whole day, just soaking wet, and I took a couple minutes, went back to the vehicle, smoked a cigar. I was like, man, it's fucking crazy. I'm just trying to just make sense of it, soak it in. What do you do? What do you say? It's I don't know how useful I am anywhere else, but I gotta sit for a minute because when the adrenaline dump was over, it was like, you got to be ready for that to kick back in and have something left. So I sat down, just smoked a cigar, and like, fuck. And I was like, I smoked at the time, I don't smoke now, but I get back out and, you know, I'm helping pick up all the stuff, get things loaded. We're waiting for vehicles to come from other fobs, and, you know, the air support was there and everything. I got to see all the, like, the classified pictures and stuff. And there's pictures of me working on Gordon.
Mm.
It's, you know, it's awesome that I got to see those, because it's like, I was there, did it, you know?
Yeah.
I did what I could there.
Yeah.
But I get to see them.
Yeah. I mean, you saved him, man. It just didn't make it. You know, you did what you could. Like, that's the way I see it. And
the guys throughout the day, you know, like I was saying, they're asking me about him. I'm like, he ain't never going to walk the way he did again, but he's going to make it. And in my heart, I knew he was going to make it. You know, everybody was always talking about November 3rd. We get back next morning. I don't remember what time it was. It was real early the next morning when we pulled into the fob. And I'm in my shoe taking off, bloody wet boots and everything. And like, you can't get the smell of burnt flesh off you. It doesn't happen.
Yeah.
All the wet wipes in the world aren't going to do it.
Yeah.
I get a knock on my door, and it's one of my battle buddies. He's like, "Hey, did you hear?" I'm like, "What?" Gordon didn't make it. I was like, "Fuck."
Dude.
It was crazy. I was like,
Oh,
that's when like the real shock set in, because I was like, but he was supposed to.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like, this isn't how it's supposed to be. Like, all my years as a medic, I did my best to do what I could for everybody.
Yeah.
Whether it's a cut, a scrape, a fucking broken nose, broken ankles, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
Nobody ever died.
Yeah. No, absolutely, man.
And then, like, people like even just going to Afghanistan, people are like, why are you going? You don't have to go.
Yeah.
You know, because, like, I have all kinds of issues at home.
Yeah.
Always have. So, like, I could have very well been like, well, I got this and I can't do it.
Yeah.
And I could have gotten out of the deployment. But it's like I tell everybody, I didn't put all this into the military to be a bitch and not go.
Yeah.
Like, this is what I trained for, is to be there.
Yeah.
And,
That's
you know.
You were meant to be there. You're supposed to be there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I know I've saved people's lives. Just not that day and not that, you know, big of an incident. Or for some of these people watching that know that were the person that I took care of, you know, though it is a big deal for sure, but it wasn't on the battlefield is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
You know, on the battlefield, like, I wanted to be super medic, you know?
Yeah.
But you do what you can, and I learned that day, and it set in, you can't save them all.
Yeah.
You can't save them all.
Yeah, and you got to think too, man. Like, I'm sure that day changed you, and hopefully you can use it to change you for the better for the rest of your life, and, you know, appreciate what you do have. And that's.
Yeah, and for the ones that you did save.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. And like days like this year when you're just because you're not doing medic type of shit, man, you're there for me. I don't know, it's corny as shit, but you know, that's still something. Like, you're still there for people, and I know you're a helpful person for a lot of people. Like, that's you. Entirely.
That's a neat aspect. Is it just because I'm not in the military? I went IRR, half-ass retirement is what I call it.
Yeah.
It's, you know, IRR, they still call you up, and I still had the option to go back in, because it's not like I wasn't fit for duty. I just started my own career with my own business, and you know, like, in family. I don't want to travel anymore.
Right.
The deployment, call me for deployment tomorrow. I'll be on the plane. I'll make it happen. But to like go to JRTCs and shit like that, I'm like, no. I battled my ass off to get custody of my little boy, and then after I got it, I'm like, nothing else matters.
Yeah.
I don't need to spend, you know, weeks away from home for a paycheck.
Yeah,
I can make my paycheck right at my house and not leave my house. You know, it's not like my whole business is through my home, but you know, weddings and things like that. It's a day trip. You go do it, you come home. You know, making rings and stuff, the coin rings. You do it, and you make money at home. I can make money at home. If my boy's like, Dad, my concert's tonight. Guess what? I'm going to be there.
Yeah.
Why? Because I set my hours.
Yeah.
If the customer doesn't want to wait, they can find another contractor. It's
Yeah.
fine by me. You know, it gets to the point where I wouldn't say I'm old and crotchety, but I'm just at the point where I'm like, I ain't doing it. You want it done right now, and I got this concert.
Yeah.
Guess what outweighs it? You know,
You and your family.
there's other plumbers out there. There's other people that can take care of issues. But
Man,
I don't know. Like I said, I'm a rambler. So
how much? I'm just trying to, just being honest. These are my thoughts. I don't even care about the podcast at this point because these are questions I'm thinking. How much longer were you there after that incident? So it was November 3rd, 2012, correct? That was when that hit. Yeah. Do you remember the next few days after that? Like, does it dial down? Does it ramp down?
It absolutely, the memories fall off because, like, what meant the most to me that I took from that is they had the chaplains come in from other FOBs to talk to us.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we're all standing, you know, in a building and they're talking to us.
Yeah.
And I'm like soaking it all in, looking around, see who's hurting worse to, you know, watch out for, tell their battle buddies, watch out for them. Not say, oh, hey, I saw him crying. We're all fucking crying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the people that you knew it was going to hit hard because they're our brothers, you know?
Yeah.
And some brothers are closer than other brothers.
Yeah.
It's just the way it goes.
100%, man.
And, you know, I was like looking around like, who am I going to have to watch out for? Because I want to make sure I'm there.
Yeah.
You know? But like that was like super, super deep for me. Everything else after that is solemn.
Yeah.
He's got to deal with emptying out their living quarters and, you know, the paperwork and tracking Clifton, who got sent to Germany. And, you know, like the show doesn't stop.
Just so people know, like so it's 4 people in the Vic and the one person did live.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Clifton lived. And, and oddly enough, I've never seen him again since.
Yeah.
And but I also haven't been to the graves.
Yeah.
You know, I got back and like my motorcycle was like, that was my therapy. Like, you know, I got back and it's just really weird the way it played out. My son was born 6 months before I got home. I got home, I think 21 days after he was born, got to see him for like 3 or 4. And the girl I was with then was like, I'm moving to California. You know, I kind of knew she was, but I thought being home, having the baby, I could change that. And she did it for a job opportunity. And I told her, I'm like, just wait for me. Wait for me. I'll get home. I'll sell everything and we'll go to California and buy a restaurant and do your thing.
Yeah.
Wait for me. She wouldn't wait.
Yeah.
So while I was home on leave, I filed an emergency court hearing, and the judge is like, well, Mr. Kenny, you got another 6 months overseas. What do you want to do? Do you want to keep him here with like grandparents or something? And I'm like, here was my fatal flaw that fucked up a lot of years of my life and brought on a lot of darkness that just added to November 3rd. I was like, I don't care if she takes him with her to California as long as he's back when I get home.
Yeah.
And boy, did that fuck me, because when I got home, he came back for a visit.
Huh.
And there was not a fucking thing I could do because she was primary caregiver for 6 months, had the primary residence for 6 months in California. So I'm like, all right, I guess I'm selling my house and getting lawyers, team of them, you know?
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm not going to, like, there's only a few things in this world that I want every night, and that's a hug for my little boy, you know?
Yeah.
And like my older boy, I want to be able to talk to him whenever I want to, you know?
Yeah.
And my boy was 6 months old, and I had it in the court documents because things got really, really rough. I had to get it in the court documents that from 6 to 7 or whatever time we agreed on every night, or I can't remember if it was every night or whatever, but I could call him.
Yeah.
And, you know, sometimes you get the update, you know, the ex would be on the phone talking about it, and other times all I could do is talk to him, listen to him coo, because he didn't talk.
Yeah.
You know? And it's like shit like that. It's like, man, this is fucking, it's dark. You got no way out. There's nothing. And the lawyers, talked to several different lawyers, are like, you can sell your house, but it's just going to get ridden out in litigation or whatever the hell they said until you're out of money.
Yeah.
It's like you're not really going to win. And then
it's a unique
That's
system,
so
man.
crazy.
long story short, my son was just turning 3. I had him for visitation, and I drove. He was in Oklahoma at that point, and I spent a good portion of the money I'd saved through deployment to go see him, flying out to California and back.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of it turned into games and shit. And it's like, are you freaking kidding me? Like she'd be like, you're not seeing him. You know, I'm like, what? You know, there was times like I flew him back, and I would have to get a plane ticket, fly out, pick him up, fly back with him, more plane tickets, fly him back, and then fly myself back.
Gosh.
And it's expensive. And when she tells you that you're not getting them, and then 2 days before, she's like, well, I haven't heard from you. Are you coming to get them or not? It's like, what the? So you go and spend top dollars to get those tickets like last minute and go pick them up. And, you know, just crazy things like begging. Like, can I please just, you know, my layover is 7 hours before my flight from California heads back towards New York. Can I please have him? Even if he's just here at the airport.
Yeah.
No. So there I sit at the USO in the airport for 7 hours, and there's not much sadder in this world, and I would never do this to her.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing sadder than that return flight. You know, you're sitting there.
Yeah, man. I can't imagine.
With your little boy, you know, toddler. He's got his blankie in the airport chair. You're having bananas and stuff. And then she picks him up, and you're there by yourself.
Damn, man.
And just watching that shit, and you know, some of the things that you had mentioned I could relate to when we talked. I'm like, man, like, you gotta hear this shit, dude. It's like, I can sympathize with you. You know, I never profess like I know what you're going through. I have no fucking clue what you're going through, but it sounds a little bit like what I went through, and I'm still here years later, and I won.
Yeah.
Bottom line, you know, like, you take those little victories and they're yours.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm here tonight, is, you know, just to sit here and cry on your couch and tell you about like how it worked for me. And you can agree, like some of the shit you told me worked, and you people out there, you can take this shit. It doesn't have to be just about child custody or it's about bad times and how to get through the shit.
Dude, that's the thing, like, people don't realize, like, and I didn't realize till this year, like, when, you know, me being me, reaching out to people and talking to different people, talking to you, like, I don't care who you are. I don't care if you are a doctor, you're a CEO of a company, or you're a janitor of a company. People always go through shit. And it doesn't matter how successful you are. And, like, sometimes the successful people go through the most difficult things. And, like, those people that, you know, seem as if they have it going on the outside looking in, you know, they might have it darker and harder than anybody else. And, like, and I think that's why, like, I encourage people, like, talk about whatever you're going through, at least to somebody, at least, you know, preferably a couple people that are going to treat you decently. But there's no better connection you're going to get with somebody than talking to them about what hardships you've been through. And then for them to open up and exchange their hardships, like, that has literally saved me this year. Like, me being me, opening up, and just people just returning fire with, you know, their side of their story, and like and like, there's been times I've called people, you know, I won't talk about the situations until they become, you know, maybe they can get them on this podcast, but I've called people this year, like I called you a few months ago, and I called them, and I'm calling them to bitch and moan about, you know, my bullshit I got going on. And then I find out they have shit that's makes my stuff not even an issue compared to theirs, like not even in the realm of comparison. And like, that says a lot, because I you know, I think, oh, holy shit, like, nobody could have it worse than me, you know, because your issues are your issues, and I don't care what your issues are,
compare,
whether it's cancer or weight, you know, weight, or, you know, your sexuality, or whatever the fuck your issue is, like,
stuff.
Like, your issue is yours.
Yeah, but it's also not just your friends that you want to open up to. If you feel like you can't do that, there's so much other help out there.
Yeah.
You know, it's like therapists, counselors, whatever, and there's so much out there.
Yep.
If you feel stuck,
Podcast.
and if you don't want to, yes,
my man.
If you don't want to talk to your friends because you don't want them to know things, that's fine. Go talk to a professional if you want, and then you know, they don't know you, they don't know anything about you. So
Yeah.
it's not just a one-sided type of thing too.
Yep.
Which a lot of times, you know, if you talk to your friends, they're going to side with you regardless, because a lot of people don't, you know.
Yeah,
They-
no,
they-
that's what I've liked to do. I like to talk to people that don't know me, that don't know anything about anybody that I'm affiliated with, and like just getting their insight. Like, hey, what's your opinion on this? And sometimes I think getting a non-biased opinion is the most powerful thing you can do.
Yeah.
But the problem is you got to be really, really honest about giving the situation and the details and stuff like that. But
I know myself, if there's things that I like cannot either put that much time into, you know, like weeks, and I'm not talking like a day or two, I don't care. You know, I've left my house at early hours in the morning to drive 2 hours on my motorcycle in 40-degree weather just to make sure a shotgun's unloaded and make sure things are good.
Yeah.
You know, literally that's just what we do. But so many times people are like, oh yeah, I went to this counselor, I went to this person, and I didn't like them, you know, the VA rep. They're like, I didn't like this person.
Yeah.
Go to another one.
And then they quit though, and they lose hope.
Yeah, on all counselors, just like, fuck, man.
Yeah, no, that's
just,
insane.
It's like The Price is Right. You just keep naming prices till you get the right one, you know, and it's gonna happen.
Yeah, you gotta find the right one for you, and they're all different. And
that's another thing, like with like when it gets, you know, sometimes past that or where it starts from is like suicide prevention. Like I don't look at it as suicide prevention. I look at it as how can I fucking help this guy?
Yeah.
You know, period. It's not suicide prevention in my mind's eye
because somebody's going through tough shit and you're being there for them. Like that's it.
That term is used way too fucking much. But if it's too deep, like say they're flying back from the Dominican Republic and they put a bunch of shit on their Facebook about just unbelievable shit that you would never talk about ever out loud, and you pick up on that and you're like, bro, you all right? And, you know, you get, I'm gonna commit suicide by cop at the airport when I land. I can't remember what state they were landing in. I'm like, whoa, buddy, let's talk about this. You know, and literally, you know, this was all through Facebook messaging, and then he called me when he landed, but he was in the Dominican getting ready to head out when he put all this crazy shit on Facebook. So I instantly just started like messaging all his friends. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? You know, the friends that I know that knows him, and we got a network going, and we got like a group chat going, several group chats going, because it was like faster than I could type. And long story short, I got him talked out of fucking the death by suicide or suicide by cop, and I'm like, dude, let's get you help. Let's get you to talk to somebody you haven't talked to yet, whatever. And like it did, it worked. You know, he got home and didn't get shot by a cop. He got taken to get help. I don't know if it was cops or ambulance or whatever, but you know, it's one of those things. It's like sometimes people just need a nudge, and like this guy came back from like pouring out deep, dark, crazy shit that you only read about, like serial killers, you know, like they'll tell you whatever, you know. He wasn't a serial killer or anything, but it was just dark shit, like not like, I don't know, I'm not gonna go in there, but it was just, I'm like, whoa, fuck, I've never read anything like this on Facebook before, you know. But he came back from that, you know, and went on with a normal life for years.
Hey, you could have contributed to that, man. Like, you don't know.
Absolutely
like, you
did.
You know, change the trajectory of someone's life just by being there for them.
Sometimes you got to snatch people by the face, you know. It's like you just get them to another train track.
Well, then it gives people hope, because if that person was so dark and deep into his own depression and sadness, and he's like thriving now or just doing better now, that's everything. Like that. Yeah, I mean, save someone's life.
There's people that have families now, you know, that they wouldn't have, like children and wives and thriving, like good careers, and it's like, I'll never understand it, but I want to understand why they were there. You know.
Do you know how many people this year have talked to me and said things to me similar to like, just like, hey, like, I don't know where you came from or where you decided to talk to me, but I, you know, like they've been very appreciative of me talking to them. And 99% of it was just me reaching out to them to talk about my bullshit. And in doing so, you know, just hearing their story, and like these people are like, Oh my gosh, yeah. And I have the most corny. I can make a podcast series literally based off of these people that I've helped by not even intentionally helping, just literally being there for them. And I had no idea what I was doing. I was just being me, just trying to be nice to these people and be there for them. And man,
There's a lot of times where there's nothing I can do immediately.
Yeah.
Because they're, just in full Eeyore mode, like, woe is me. I'm not going to take any of your advice. Like, I'm listening to you and whatever. And I'm just like, on my refrigerator, there's like 6 different magnets with probably 20 different numbers for suicide hotlines.
Yeah.
That I've called all of them just to make sure. Like, I'll call and be like, so I got a guy, if he calls you, do you call and have him committed? Is he going to get picked up by cops? What's going to happen? Or do you just talk to him?
Yeah.
Because some people they don't want to go spend however many hours they get stuck after they come down from where they were, just because it's taken so goddamn long stuck in a hospital room.
Yeah.
They just want to talk to somebody. And if I don't have what they need to hear, I want to tell them, like, I've called this number and they're not going to commit you. They're not going to send an ambulance to come take you to the hospital.
Wow.
And like, there's tons of people. I tell people all the time, like, look at the churches, look at like the VA, just all the resources that are out there because people don't know. And like they'll have one bad experience at one spot, or like, well, churches are all hypocrites. Well, they might be hypocrites, but they might have seen a thing or two. They might know a thing or two.
Yeah. I think that's the thing too. People have a hard time reaching out and being like vulnerable or whatever. They don't want to seem weak. I think they want to pretend everything's okay.
They worry about judgment.
They're gonna.
It's kind of like starting a podcast,
but they don't want anybody to know why.
Right. It's embarrassing. It can be embarrassing. And you can't judge people on why they're depressed or sad. Maybe they don't even know why. Yeah. I mean.
I wanted to, I just remembered, you started talking to me about, you mentioned your brother, and then I told you never told me anything about your brother.
Oh, well, that goes along with like coming home. So like I said, I came home to an empty house. I had my older boy, like that's open visitation. We've never gone to court for custody or anything. Cause I was,
cool.
My first divorce, I was like, look, doing 50-50 custody. And she told me, she's like, you just want 50-50 custody so you don't have to pay child support. I'm like, the money will be there, but I'm not a Tuesday, Thursday, every other weekend dad. If the circus is in town, we're going to the fucking circus, and I'll drop him off at school the next morning. Yeah. Like, you're not keeping overnight on school night. I'm like, I'm his dad. I'm going to do whatever the fuck I feel we need to do. When I need him, I need him. When he needs me, he needs me. Yeah. It's not a big deal. I don't care if he's going to another school. I'll drive there. Like, I'm not a Tuesday, Thursday, every other weekend dad. I grew up in that environment, and it fucking kills a guy. Kills kid. It's hard. It's really fucking hard. Yeah. And that worked. But on the same note, I can go out and have the best day. Get on my mountain bike, ride for 20 miles, whatever. Go out in the kayak for all day long. Come home. It's still the same fucking couch I'm sleeping on because I couldn't even walk up and sleep in my bed. I'm like, I'm all alone. So I was stuck like that. And, it's like work, home, do cool shit, but you still go home to that empty house. Yeah. And like, I don't even know if my brother knew it. My brother Bill he just showed up.
Older or younger?
Older. It's a year older. She just showed up and just like, I don't know if he even knew what he was doing or what I was in. But he just pulled me the fuck out of it. Like, just started including me and shit. And I'm like, fuck, man. That's what happens when we just care more. Yeah. And that's a stolen saying. That's one of my ADHD group friends. Her son has just care more. There's lots to that. But
I like it.
No, that's a good saying, man. Just care more. Like, and anybody can use that.
Like, when I look at, what's in front of me in text or somebody calls me, I'm like, what can I do there? I'm like, I just got to care more. How? Yeah. And it's one of those like this little catchphrase that sticks in my head.
Dude, if everybody applied that saying, just care more, like it sounds corny, but this world will be a little bit better place.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just makes it easier to walk around knowing that you're doing what you can for other people. Yeah. And reciprocating what's been done for you.
Yeah.
You know, what's been done for me is not going to work for everybody else.
Mm.
But if I can have the same trajectory I was on, you know, if I can shift them just a little bit to go, you know, find that person that can make the full switch for them, that's what I got to do every day, you know. And another person is Laura Friend. Like, she is literally a living angel. Yeah. Oh God, awesome.
It's amazing. I love hearing that.
Yeah, and like, she was referred by another Army buddy. He's like, you got to talk to Laura. And I'm like,
who is this person? Unless you can't go into detail, it's
dude, it's a lot of years of complexity right there. She's literally just a living angel. If you can think of however a living angel should make you feel,
I've got a few of them coming in my life this year.
That's her. Just like, she's amazing.
I'm just saying, but yeah, because I wouldn't be. I don't. Yeah. Living angel.
But she's one of those people that, like, you know, in dark hours, I could talk to her because I didn't know her. That's another thing. I didn't know her.
How did you get to know this person?
I can't remember exactly who told me, but it was somebody from 444 told me, like, you need to talk to Laura. And I'm like, it's hard to say Laura because my first wife.
You still talk to her?
Laura. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah?
Cool. Yeah, you don't give up on that stuff. Yeah. Yeah. But it's one of those things. She's a photographer. She's, you know, she does. I don't want to like throw all her stuff out there, but she's there for veterans. We'll just put it that way.
That's cool, man.
And just changes lives everywhere she goes. Every time.
Angels walk among us.
Speaking of that, you reminded me of something I want to bring up because during my last therapy session at the VA, I decided to talk. I told the lady how I was doing, and she was speechless. Like, she didn't know. She didn't seem like she knew what to say because I'm like, I'm doing good. And I went into detail of how I'm doing. And she's just like, wow. And I told her, I'm like, is there any sort of service where I could volunteer for the VA and like just be there for, you know, and mental health victims and stuff? Because I'm in an incredibly good place in my head. And I believe I'm going to remain here regardless of what goes on in my life moving forward. Not saying I won't have bad days. I still have bad days, but overall,
you let me in on your bullshit, and I ain't letting you have.
Exactly.
I ain't letting you go back to where you were.
Yeah. So I wrote a really nice letter to the VA, and I sent it to the secure messaging, such a pain in the ass, to the VA patient portal, all that bullshit. And it's like, in order to check the message, you get an email saying you got a new message. You got to log in. You got to deal with multi-factor authentication. I'm an IT nerd for those of you that don't know, but and so it's a pain in the ass, but I'm like, can you guys just please email me? And they did, and they sent me an email that I think I attached the email. I removed the name on there, but I put it on this podcast advertisement that I made, and I don't know, it's just, I'm surprised. Like, I really want to try to help, and I think I could help people. I think I could help people by talking to them, just being real as real could be.
But you also don't judge people, and you give them all sorts of different views on everything, not just one. And it's not even just your opinion. It's like, I feel like you have millions of opinions towards things most of the time. You know what I mean? I really do. Like, you're so open.
Yeah, and I agree. But maybe this podcast will get their attention, because I would like that, because I would like to be able to give back, and because I've had an incredible support structure that not everybody has, because a lot of people went through the year that I've went through. You know, granted, it's not military related. It's completely unrelated to that shit, but it's still, you know, outside of the military, you can still have shit that's incredibly challenging. So and you can let it make you or break you, and in this case, I'm attempting to let it make me.
Well, clearly, it's like whatever you're doing is working for you, and you're good and healthy physically and mentally. And
I've never been better in my entire life. You know, and it's cool because, you know, going through, if you can go through hardship and you can somehow, and I don't know how I did this, I would love to be able to tell people how, and I have a couple ideas how, but if you can change your perspective, you can spin it around, and you can use whatever you're going through to just make your life better and just not dwell on things out of your control. I know I said that earlier, but.
And I know it's stupid. Everyone's like, well, look on the bright side. It's like, that's kind of true. When things are happening and it's kind of dark and gloomy and you feel sad and stuff, like, look on the bright side.
I know. The cup's half full. I've been saying that at work to some of my coworkers lately, because they've been bitching about stuff. And,
was
the cup's half full.
SNL, Saturday Night Live, where the guy was like, I don't know, he was some kind of nerd or something in the skit, and he's like, he's looking in the mirror, he's like, I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, and gosh darn it, people like me. Remember that?
No.
I'm old.
Yeah, I was going to say, Saturday Night what?
Oh, I was like...
No, I'm kidding. I was trying to call him old again.
I thought that was real.
But yeah, I mean, like being a medic, you don't get a lot of counseling, like training, like in-depth stuff. So,
Yeah.
but you learn as you go, and you learn from your older peers, that are teaching the ways of the medic, whatever. And we've dealt tons of shit, and so I learned over the years. But I don't have any like formal training in this. But I look at it like it's better than a sharp fecal dip punji stick in the eye, right? Talk to me, and it's one of those things. Like I'm probably the only person I know that has their phone number listed on their Facebook, whatever the hell it is.
That like info part or something. Yeah. Okay.
You know how many prank calls I've gotten? None. You know how many I've gotten because I got my number off Facebook and they see my, I used to do the deal where they're like, let me get 2 of my brothers. I know who they are, whatever, to, post about suicide awareness. I always post about things like that quite often, but I've gotten to the point where I'm like, I'm no longer going to just copy and paste. I'm going to write my own bullshit and use one of the numbers that I like to use instead of just whatever the de facto number is on the stupid is basically a meme. Yeah. I'm like, I'm not doing the chain bullshit anymore. Yeah. Like I can do better myself, and more so than anything, I just message people, people all the time. If they pop in my head, I'm like, hey brother, what's happening? Hope you're having a great day. I love you.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
Dude,
I
do that too, like sporadically,
I keep in contact with a lot of my old Army buddies.
Scroll down and it's like sometimes like in one day I'll do like 20 people that I haven't talked to in so long, and it's just reaching out, just sending a little heart emoji, just something, so they know that you're thinking about them. Could make their day.
Yeah. Do you know how many? I just called. I won't name his name, but I just called a guy the other night. You know him. I'll tell you after the podcast. I don't want to give away his personal business, but I called him, and I may have had a couple too many drinks. And I'm not a big drinker, but I'm drinking right now. Anyway, I called this guy, and we were laying in bed, and I decided, I had an idea. I called him, like, hey, you want to be famous? And he's like, what? And I told him, I'm like, yeah, I got a podcast. I was just fucking around with him, but I'm like, hey, and I tell him what I got going on. I'm like, I'm motivated. I've never been so motivated in my life, and I've talked about the podcast idea and all this shit. And he's like, I haven't talked to this guy in like 4 or 5 months, and he's like. He's listening to me and he sounds like he's getting excited. He's like, dude, he's like, Matt, he's like, I just got fired today from my job. And like, I'm like, what are the odds? And the thing that's crazy about that is I've been saying, what are the odds this entire fucking year? I've been reaching out to people and I reach out to them, I talk to them, and like coincidental shit has been happening this entire year. And I try to wrap my head around it, but I've been listening to a lot of motivational podcasts and stuff. One of them's Your World Within. It's corny as shit. This guy's good at talking.
No, you don't
not corny though.
Dude,
it is beautiful
it's so
as shit.
Good.
It is. But anyway, my point is, like, they talk about that and they're like, people don't realize you have complete control over certain aspects of your life, to the point you can, if you put effort into it, you can morph your life into something you never imagined. As long as you stay positive and you stay confident and you believe in yourself. And it's corny, but man, let me tell you what, I've stayed positive for about a month and a half, 2 months now, and my entire life is transformed in ways I never in a million years thought possible.
It's so true though.
So I hope somebody hears that and they're like, you know what? This guy seems fucking semi-real. I'm completely real, by the way, but semi-real. Like, yeah, I don't know that. I question every day if I'm losing my mind, but no, I'm doing good. And you have complete control over your own life and what goes on in a lot of ways. There's things that you don't have control over, but I'll tell you what, is staying in shape. I've been, I cut like 20 pounds. I didn't try. I stopped eating like once a day. I'll be like, all right, I don't need a donut when I get free donuts at work. Today I turned down a donut. I was so proud of myself for turning down that fucking donut today. We got free donuts for a vendor.
I would like it.
Oh man, dude, they look so good. And I'm like, I'm good. And like, I don't know. It sounds stupid, but if you do that once a day, you turn down something you didn't the other day, like, yeah, you might lose weight. I don't know. Everybody's metabolism's different.
But not just losing weight, you'll feel better.
Yeah.
Physically and mentally. It's all
just the fact
connected.
that you turn down a donut. who fucking cares? But
Yeah.
guess what? It's stuck in your mind because it's part of the gear in the cog that's twisting things forward for you.
And I think
and
you
it's
feel,
a positive step.
Yeah, and you feel like you're in control.
Well,
like if you were out of control, you would have been
2 weekends ago. I woke up on a Sunday morning. It was a late night Sunday morning. We had a late night Friday night. So Sunday morning, I wake up. We had a fun night, went out and stuff, and I woke up and I'm like, I'm gonna run today. I'm gonna go for a run, because I'm motivated. I look outside, it's fucking raining. I'm like, shit. I'm like, screw that. And also, I'm like, I think about the podcast, and they say, if you force yourself to do things when it's inconvenient for you, for example, rain, it makes it easier the next time you think about doing that thing. It gives you no excuse. And it's crazy because I went out, I ran in the rain with my Border Collie Arrow, and I ran down, sat next to the lake, and it was like the most peaceful, beautiful morning. It was a light rain. It actually really stopped when it started raining. It would have sucked if it rained the whole time because it was cold. But yeah. So anyway, fast forward to the following Sunday, I wake up this past weekend, and we wake up and I look at her. I'm like, we should go for a run. She had no interest, but we try to stay motivated. And she's like, okay. And we went for a run, and again, we always run down next to the lake and stuff, down the same road. We always go down, and it's it's a beautiful time. And there's not ever been a time my entire life I've gotten out and ran or exercised or done anything where I'm like, wow, that fucking sucked. I wish I didn't do that. Every single time I'm like, I feel great. Yeah. I feel better than I did before. Like, why don't people get off their asses more?
Yeah. Where do you get to be my age, fucker?
Yeah.
No, but the hardest times is when you really, really, really don't want to go. And then that's when you feel the best. That's like for me anyway. I run the best and work out the best when I really don't want to do it.
That's like when you give your children a choice. Hey, do you want to go to the park? No, I don't want to go. I'm gonna
sit on video games and shit. Fuck,
they get. All right, we're going because Ma and I are going. You're going too. Yep. And then,
dude, listen, my 14-year-old. So we bought a heavy bag, punching bag. For those of you that don't know, bought a punching bag like a month and a half ago or so. Best $150 I've ever spent. Granted, I didn't realize I needed wrist wraps because after I learned how to hit, I'm hurting my wrist, my knuckles are killing me, so I got some special wraps. Anyway, the other night I said to my son, I'm like, hey, like he's doing wrestling this year. I'm like, let's go in the garage, and he's playing, fucking sitting on the computer playing games or whatever. And I don't knock it. I played video games most of my life, but he's like, okay. We go out and I'm telling him, I'm watching him hit the heavy bag. I'm like, dude, like you actually look like you're hitting so much better than you did when you first started hitting the heavy bag. And he's like, really? And you could see it in his eye, and it was cool. It was like
so cute.
And I'm like, yeah, dude. I'm like, I just give him a little confidence, and all of a sudden I talked to him like, yeah, no, you look good, and he really did. I wasn't lying to him. Like if my son sucks at something, I tell my son. I don't sugarcoat shit. You do bad in school, I say things that.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So, do you ever getting back to your mental state? Do you ever think of stuff that makes you sad or whatever, and then do you do something to pull yourself out of it?
Always, I have to.
Okay.
I don't I get hyper focused on shit, right? So
I know that feeling.
If I'm into something that I'm passionate about at the moment, well, I'm on a 5-week program right now. Just a little backstory about what I do and why I do it.
Yes.
So I got a buddy going through some marriage issues, going through some issues that, are dragging him down around that too. I'm like, how can I fucking help this guy? I'm like, he lives 15, 20 minutes away. Not a big deal. I want to go help him. How's it going to fucking benefit me? Because that's a lot of time away from, I mean, if you look at my house, the siding's not done. This, that, and the third is not done. But if you look at, I drive through anywhere town I drive through and be like, oh, yeah, I did that. I put that siding.
I was going to say, every time I talk to you, you're doing something for someone else.
I'm driving a fucking NASCAR truck right now to only turn left with power steering. But, my wife's car runs just fine.
Yeah.
The people that are like, hey, can you fix my shit? I go fix their shit, But I'm on a 5-week program right now because my buddy is in a low spot, and I could just tell that he's getting ground on. It's just grinding on him, the shit he's going through. I'm like, man, talking don't help. I'm like, bro, we got to do something. We got to set up a program where we're doing something just one night a fucking week. Let's go do paint and sip or some dumb shit like that. And he's like, well, then we got to spend money on drinks and, to go do it. And I'm like, all right, fucker. I got vehicles at your house anyways. Like, it's not, well, according to my wife, they're junk, but I got a 72 Jeep Commando. I got a 38 Plymouth, and I rent garage space from the guy. But I was like, well, why don't we do something like fucking Wrenching Wednesday? He's like, what do you mean? I'm like, you got a fucking shop that's a dream shop. I was like, let's go down there and start working on our shit. You got broke shit there. I got broke shit there.
Yeah.
5 weeks now, at least one night a week.
Yeah.
We've been meeting up, and it is what it is. Literally, I know some people hate that. Oh, it is what it is. I hate that saying. Well, it is what it is. If we go there and we don't have any specific thing we've got to get done, there's no expectations. It's, if it happens, it happens, because chances are we're going to break something on something we're working on. What, it's just one of those things. But for 5 weeks now, and we've actually been getting together quite a bit more, because like I'm hyper focused on getting my equipment trailer that I'm rebuilding done.
Yeah.
And but we hang out, and it's changed both of us.
Good.
I walk around with another smile. He walks around with a smile, and it benefits both of us.
Yeah.
And I can warrant going and spending the time, because if I'm working on my trailer, he's working on my trailer with me.
Yeah.
If we're straightening up the shop, organizing tools, working on his shit, that's what we're doing. If we're putting in some flooring over like there's like a drain down the middle of his warehouse, and it's like he had some metal things in there, and it sucked to walk over. So we started cutting up 2x4s and putting them late, because they fit perfect, and you can even roll a creeper on it. He's like, fuck, man, added bonus.
Yeah.
And it's just the little things.
It is.
Yeah.
And what's it do? It sets me up for my business future, because this 20-foot tilt deck trailer is just a dream come true for the price I paid for it, and I get to build it the way I want.
Yeah.
And for him, his shop's getting aligned, and like the chakra is getting aligned too. It's like I quit drinking almost a year and a half ago, and he still drinks, and I'm like, you can drink, but I'm just going to drink my NA beers, like same as what I got in my Yeti tonight.
Yeah.
And people are like, you don't drink. Like, it was funny. Matt's like, I'm on my way. He's like, hey, there's a convenience store right down the street. You want to drink what we're drinking, or you want me to go get you some beers? And I'm like, dude, I brought NA beers with me. He's like, oh, I forgot you told me you don't drink. Funny story. Again, like joining the military, there was no fucking reason in particular. Well, I mean, there was reasons, but there was nothing underlying where I had to stop drinking or die or whatever. But my wife kept telling me, you're an alcoholic asshole. It just kept coming up and coming up. I'm like, all right, fine, I quit drinking. She's like, no, you didn't. You won't do it. You can't do it. I'm like, Kim, when I get deployed, you get like a few days when you're home to drink throughout the year. Look, it's no big deal for me to quit drinking. And just like a switch, I stopped drinking.
Yeah.
She like constantly, try this wine, try this wine, try this wine. No, I don't drink anymore,
Yeah.
I did one shot with my son on his 21st birthday of Jägermeister.
Yep.
But I don't know. Some people are like, oh, you still drink then? You didn't quit drinking a year and a half ago. Nobody said that, but I always think like people are going to think like if I don't mention that and they find out like I'm some kind of lying asshole. I'm like, nope. Whatever. I had one, and I still consider that not drinking, because if you have a rum cake that wasn't cooked all the way, you're going to get some rum. I don't avoid it, but now she can't call me alcoholic asshole. She can only call me an asshole. Yeah, that's beautiful. That took the wind out of her sails on that one. Yeah. But I had another buddy that was saw himself having some problems with alcohol, and I'm like, bro, I'll quit drinking with you. And that's when I literally decided to quit drinking. It like the story about my wife just makes it all the funnier.
Yeah, it is funny.
We also had a death in the family. I got a big family. We had a death in the family that was alcohol and driving related, and I'm like, fuck, man, I don't want that to even be close to me.
Yeah,
I was so like, sad. And like, there's just little things that will give you the drive to keep going, and you look back and you're like, I could go out and drink or have a drink, and it's not a problem, or go get shitty. Like, I didn't never drink to get drunk, but would I wake up at 8 o'clock in the morning and have a beer? Fuck yeah, I like the taste of beer. If I'm out camping, it's like, what do I do? I throw the bacon on the grill first or crack a beer, because I have no expectations of my day. Yeah. If I'm, it's one of those things. If it's Saturday and I wake up and like, I'm just gonna have a beer.
Yeah.
It's not like it's like I gotta have a beer because my hands are shaking. I didn't go through any kind of detox, quitting drinking. Just stop drinking.
Yeah.
It's easy. The same with smoking. I quit smoking cigarettes 2 days after. I haven't touched them since.
You.
Yeah. It's like,
really.
That's the thing people need to realize too. Like that is such an. I'm speaking from I've never been addicted to nicotine, thank God, but it is a choice, and it's that fucking easy. Like anybody could do it. It's just people like to rationalize and just make it harder than it really is. But
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yep.
Oh man,
That's crazy the way it all works.
Yep.
It just really is. But it's all about like little things that just click in your mind. Turn the switch on, and you get a little light.
Click. It's definitely a click.
Were there any things that you had written down that any things that we missed that you wanted to talk about before you kill it? Or
Let me look at my list.
we're at a hour and 33 minutes. I'm actually shocked.
Like I said,
I had a hard time hitting 50 minutes last time. We had a couple dead spots where it's just like, what did we say? But
yeah, you guys did fine. So, like the one thing I did want to mention is, yes, I'm an ordained minister. People, did I mention? Yeah,
he married us. So yeah,
but people are like, oh, what'd that take you? Like 15 minutes online, you're ordained? And I was like, no, I actually took my wife like 3 minutes and I had nothing to fucking do with it. Literally. I got ordained to marry my little brother and his wife because, you know, I made his wedding band for him and he was looking for somebody to do it. I'm like, bro, how about I get ordained and I do your wedding?
So awesome.
This is on Facebook. So he messages back,
so cool.
Are you fucking kidding me? And I'm like, well, fine, dude. If you don't want me to, I won't. I'm just trying to help you out. And he's like, no, that'd be fucking awesome.
Yeah.
So the wife got me ordained. She got ordained, never done anything with it. But for me, it's like that was my first wedding. So it wasn't like super graceful, but I've done 30 plus weddings now. And I write everybody's ceremonies, blah, blah, blah. And I'm not advertising. I really do have a point to this. But it's one of those things people like what I write. Like I got asked like, so what's your dream wedding venue to do? I'm like a flash mob wedding on Bolt Castle because I thought it was super stupid expensive. Well, a couple from New Jersey got a hold of me. I went, sat with them, took all the notes, and they're like, yeah, we like it. So they got married at Bolt Castle. That's where they were already planning on doing. They were just looking for somebody up here to do it. So instead of having like a DJ or whatever over there, they had a harp player. It was like a unicorn wedding. Yeah, it was awesome. It was really
fancy.
It was just like my dream wedding. All the weddings I've done have been spectacular. I love doing weddings. But I wanted people to realize, like, yeah, I say swear and everything else as I'm keeping it real, and that's just me. But I don't consider myself a minister, per se, because I didn't devote my entire life to Christ like the people that go to school for it and work in churches and whatnot. I don't do church weddings. I do any other kind of wedding, but I consider myself preacher man because
did awesome at our wedding, that's for sure.
Oh my gosh, yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah, it was a good time, man.
Yeah. And I look at like the way I do what I do is like Michael Landon from Highway to Heaven and Little House on the Prairie. You know, he wasn't a preacher, but he taught his flock, his family about God and figured out, maybe not even talking about God, but just showed them the way.
Yeah.
You know, with a little Christianity, whatever mixed in there, but he just showed them the way. He wasn't a preacher, but back in those days, if he had to marry somebody, he could probably just marry somebody. I don't know how it all works.
Yeah.
All I know is I'm ordained and I got a little minister parking pass.
Oh, yeah.
Not that I've ever used it, anywhere. But it came with the kit.
Is there like veterans minister parking?
I don't know.
That's like you're parking right at the front door. Like
locking
the door.
If it's not both, I just pick whichever one. Or just park in a yellow thing and just hang up my clergy thing. You know,
man.
But I just want to, let people know, like, it's not like I don't know. I'm not the church every Sunday and that's all I do. I'm just out there, one of the guys. And I don't think myself I could relate to people the way I do if I didn't swear a little bit and be myself.
Yeah.
You're just,
it's neat, not saying like anybody else hides things, but I just don't hide anything. If I'm going to swear, I'm going to swear, but I'll explain why I swear and how I'm not, just a hypocritical asshole. It's like, oh, I'm a minister. Now I don't dwell on that.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
I think we covered.
Yeah, we've covered a lot.
Yeah.
But there's still a ton of
Went
shit on there.
But stuff and little stories here and there. But
babe, are you good?
I think I'm good.
Okay. Well, I appreciate everyone tuning in. Again, this is Matt Kinney and the Matt and Monica podcast.
Thanks for watching.
Absolutely. No, appreciate it. You guys have a good night. Take care.